show. So this month, I wanted to talk about groups that we so some of us do the stronger memory groups in a way that we go through the main exercises and we go through the kind of the main lessons that are in that facilitator's guide, and then start a new cohort. But I know a lot of us have groups that are eager for more information or new information, and they want to keep going past those, 12 weeks that are in the facilitator's guide. So today, we're going to talk, well, before I get into my agenda, I can't forget, we want to celebrate you on social media. Ellie runs our fantastic Stronger Memory social media. So if you have any quotes or any photos, please make sure that you send them to us, or if you are posting them on your own social media, you can tag us and we will repost it, reshare it. We want to highlight you. We will have a new Stronger Memory website launching in the next couple of weeks. That will be easier to navigate than our current website, but it will also have a spot on a few of the pages where our Instagram is connected so that people can see the most recent posts. So if we've made a post or shared a post that you all have made highlighting your organization, then you'll get to be highlighted on our website there as well. Okay, so we've done our welcome and our introductions. We're going to cover engaging themes that keep groups talking. So first we're going to review some open-ended questions, then some popular topics that Goodwin Living has done. So these are topics that, honestly, I picked topics, I think all the topics actually. I did have one that I did, but then I switched it out. So all the topics that you're going to hear me really briefly go over are actually ones that Teresa, Michelle, and Ellie have done. So I'll let them jump in and add anything, but I didn't want to put them on the spot today. And then I want to hear from all of you, what are fun, popular topics that you've done in your groups? So when I think about questions, I was trained a while back in a program called Time Slips, which is a really neat kind of creative storytelling program. But I've taken some tips from them on characteristics of great questions. So when we're having our groups and we have discussion questions, these are some of the things to think about. We want open-ended, not a yes or no question. Questions that invite personal meaning and maybe bring up a memory. Questions that don't have a wrong answer. So not necessarily factual questions, even if we are talking about some memories, but questions that can be opinion-based or personal. There's no wrong answer. Things that encourage imagination or reflection, and not things that seem too school-based or quiz style. We really want to just have open conversation. So these are some specific tips from Time Slips, and they call questions, they call their approach beautiful questions. So what are some tips for beautiful questions? Use sensory-rich prompts. So one creative one is, what does the color orange smell like? Maybe you think citrus, maybe you think of flowers, but engaging the senses, inviting storytelling and emotion, embracing all responses as valid. That can be hard to do. Sometimes you might have someone respond to a question in a way that's not exactly answering what the question actually was, but rather than correcting, kind of validating, oh, that's interesting, and then maybe restating the question or moving on to a different one for the group. and really creating questions that foster creativity and belonging. So some examples of beautiful questions: what makes you feel strong? What is something you've never forgotten? If your favorite song was a place, what would it look like? What would you name a new star? So really some creative questions. And you can Google lots of these too, search for these types of questions. Sometimes they can be good icebreakers at the beginning of a session, or you know, when I'm doing a lesson plan or a new stronger memory topic, I'll use ChatGPT a lot to help me think of some question ideas, and asking it to come up with questions like this can be really helpful. So I just wanted to chat a little bit about open-ended questions and give some examples. And the next thing we're going to do is go through some popular topics that our team has done. And what you'll notice in these following examples, what I've done, I've compiled some edited versions of slideshows that Teresa and Michelle have done with their virtual group. And then Ellie added in some of the names and links and discussion questions she's used for popular articles that her groups have read aloud together. So you'll notice we have kind of a variety of content, because these are really the things that our team has used to keep momentum, keep groups engaged after they've been doing stronger memory for a while. So they've done the 12 weeks, they've done kind of the basic topics, and we want to pull in other things that are engaging to encourage them, because the group wanted to continue to meet. So some of them are very science focused, because Teresa and Michelle lead one virtual group that's very research focused. So you'll see an example of that. Some are more fun and conversation based. We've got a couple examples of reading an article aloud together with some discussion questions. That's really perfect for in-person groups, where everyone can take turns. And then you'll notice some of the slides have a lot of visual components, like pictures and videos for those groups that are you know, are meeting virtually. And we can certainly send out a list of these topics, and share any of these links to the sources. And Teresa, Ellie, Michelle, feel free to jump in if you want, and then certainly in the discussion at the end, I know you'll be able to answer any more specific questions. The first one that's been really popular. Teresa did this one, the power of a handwritten note. She's done this for a couple of her virtual groups, and then an additional webinar for Goodwin Living at Home participants as well. And this was a talk, you know, she connected it right away in her slides to this writing by hand, right? The power of a handwritten note. It links right back to the stronger memory exercises.
Sure does.
Yeah, so really connecting it at the beginning. This was for a really sciencey group, so she's got a lot of sources and notes here on science behind writing by hand, and then on the psychology of receiving a handwritten note. So she really talked about why it grabs attention and sticks in the mind of people, and then shared examples. So Teresa shared some examples of soldiers and families, and there was this video. It's just an image of the video. We're not going to watch the video right now, but we can send it out. But CBS did a great video on the power of handwritten notes, and so including some videos, whether you're in person or virtually meeting, can be a great way to keep your group engaged. And then she provided some ideas for how to take up what you've learned and move it, pay it forward. Make your own handwritten notes with some tips here, and then discussion questions. So have you ever held on to a written note, card, or letter? Can you say the same for an email message? Have you held on to an email? If you've saved a written note, do you keep it in a special place? And have you ever been able to recognize someone's handwriting instantly from a card or a letter? So that just kind of shows a little bit of the kinds of discussion questions that went along with this topic. And then there was another video here on kind of the handwritten note. And like I said, we can send these links out if it's something you want to use and share with your group. Then the second topic that I borrowed from Teresa is one that she did a word adventure for your brain, brain boosters, why play with words? And so she did this as a Stronger Memory virtual group, but I've pulled it into one of our monthly talks we do on campus. There's some really fun and engaging things in this one. So this one is a little bit less science heavy, a little bit more fun, conversational, talks about what wordplay does, and what an idiom is if you've forgotten. And I'm going to make you play the game with me, so we'll review it just a little bit. An idiom is a phrase that means something different than the literal words suggest, mixes culture, humor, and logic, and really makes language feel like a puzzle. One that we all have probably heard before is "It's raining cats and dogs." So that's a lovely painting. It's raining cats and dogs, but we know it doesn't actually mean raining cats and dogs. So you can shout it out if you want. But does anybody have a guess? What do you think this phrase means? It's raining cats and dogs. Do you know what it means or where it came from? I see lots of heads saying no. A couple head shakes no. All right, well, luckily we do have the answer here. We don't know where it came from, but it might have its roots in Norse mythology or medieval superstitions. And it could be from an obsolete word, catadu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, which meant a waterfall. Or dead animals in the streets of Britain being picked up by storm water. Some of these facts are not as fun and pleasant, but there's a lot here. We'll have a few more fun ones next, I promise. Can't have your cake and eat it too. Anybody have a guess what this one means or where it's from? All right, can't have your cake and eat it too means you can't enjoy conflicting outcomes. So have used to mean to keep or to hold on to, and it was first noted in a 1528 letter to Cromwell in England. I had no idea it had been around that long. And so what it really means is you can't eat the cake and still have a whole cake. We now use have, like you could have some of your cake, you could eat the cake, but have really used to mean to keep or to hold on to. This one I don't think anyone will get, but it's my favorite that Teresa found and put in here. It's the wild card one. I'm not hanging noodles on your ears. Anybody think they know? Okay, so this one's fun. It means that the speaker is not trying to deceive or mislead the listener. They're being truthful. It's a Russian saying, colorful way of saying believe me and conveying a sense of honesty and sincerity. They're not quite sure how it came to be, but it does have word roots similar to lie and steal in Russian. And during the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution, protesters threw pots of spaghetti at the Russian consulate to protest the accuracy of media coverage. So while we haven't heard of it, it is one that Russian-speaking individuals use. And it's similar to our English idiom of "I'm not pulling your leg." So that's just kind of a fun one. And then I think the last one I have on here is "clean as a whistle." And I liked this one because whistles are not very clean, but this means spotless or straightforward. So whistles collect spit and germs every time they're used. Not exactly a beacon of cleanliness, but this one's really fun. And when I use these slides with a group of older adults, we really had some good discussion on this, on what we thought it might mean, and the possible origins, because some people, even before we got to the slide, did share that, well, you need a whistle to be clean or empty in order to work. Like if you have a whistle that has debris, it's not going to work. And then another possibility is that the clean refers to its sharpness. It's a clean, sharp noise. But it was really interesting to talk about these with our groups and go through what kinds of meanings we put on these phrases. And there's many more, but I didn't go through all of them on our call today. And then, Teresa closed out this presentation with this stronger memory topic with another kind of wrap up, connecting it back to why it's good for our brains. So sometimes things can be really informational and sometimes they can just be really fun. But either way, our brains love it and our brains really enjoy being engaged. And she had some other sources to places people could continue to find information or to practice information on idioms and wordplay. The next one, the last two topics we'll cover before we kind of break into discussion here are articles, really great articles that groups read out loud. Ellie used these with her in-person groups, and we've got the link here. So one popular article review is "Petting other people's dogs, even briefly, can boost your brain health." So printing this off, reading it out loud together, and then having discussion questions. So this one had some really good discussion questions that Ellie came up with. How do you feel when you interact with animals? This one goes back to that, a lot of those concepts we talked about with good open-ended questions. It's an open-ended question. It invites in sensory feelings, memory. It doesn't require a right or wrong answer. Can you recall a time when a pet helped you through a difficult period in your life? And how did they support you? So that's another one that again brings in that personal story. It's not a facts-based quiz question on what's been read, but it's really taking what was read and connecting it to their story, their history, and inviting conversation. And then the third discussion question, in what ways might the daily responsibilities of pet care, such as feeding and walking, help us maintain cognitive function and mental sharpness? So this question brings it all back to that brain health topic, but in a way where there's lots of answers to this, right? Like there's really no wrong answer someone could say. There's lots of things people can answer, well, walking a dog, getting outside, getting moving, that's great for our brain health. So there's lots of different things people can answer. And then the other really popular article review Ellie shared is "The Science of Why Friendships Keep Us Healthy." I love that picture of the friends bowling and the link there. So the discussion questions for this one: what stood out to you most in this article about friendship and why? So those are the kinds of like comprehension questions we try to do, things that are not, you know, not a quiz on, what was this fact, what percentage did this article say, but things that are, open-ended, opinion based. Do you believe friendships can help us stay healthy, like the article says? Why or why not? And how have your friendships helped you feel healthy, happy, or supported over the years? So just questions that really relate back to brain health and invite in personal history, personal memories, and opinions, can really get people talking. So we're going to do our Q&A and sharing best practices. So I'll stop sharing my screen and certainly allow, Teresa, Michelle, Ellie, if you have other things you want to share about this topic, please answer these questions too, along with all of our other facilitators. So I want to start off before we kind of move on to any other questions people might have. I've got some questions I'd love to hear from all the facilitators on this call. If you have an answer, what is a topic that you've covered with your group that led to a lot of great discussion? And then whether it led to great discussion or not, what was your favorite topic that you've covered or that you've led a Stronger Memory group on? What's your favorite one to lead? And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see we can see everybody's faces and open it up to questions and discussion.
Hi, Tina here.
Go ahead, Tina.
Is it okay? Did we?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think the favorite topic that I have come across is actually working through the goal setting and talking through with them. I've done that one multiple times because it matters. No matter if they pick a stronger memory thing, it can be something personal, whatever. It still helps kind of line those things up for a better success plan. And we talk about the roadblocks and everything else, and it kind of is a theme that carries through the 12 weeks that we go through. Hey, how's it going? When we do our check-ins. So I do consider that to be one of my favorite topics that I'll come and bring back each time. Another fun thing to do is to just go through the reading prompts and just ask. I may not have one picked out, but I'll sit there and, hey, this looks interesting. And we've had some great discussions as a group with those questions that are there already for us. So those are kind of fun ones to rely on as well. So thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Tina.
I think it's pretty interesting to see, as I think back on the initial group, how people respond to directions or pressure, so to speak. The writing prompt really caused a little bit of angst in the beginning. And he said, "Well, I can't think of anything to write about." I said, "Well, that's why we have this here." And people would say, "Well, I once I got going, I could really go." And somebody said, "Oh my goodness, I only got a couple sentences down." Come to find out that when we were talking about doing the writing part, I thought it was obvious, but while she was flipping through trying to find the topic to write about, she was counting that into 10 minutes. So.
Oh.
So you never know about that. But the topic that causes the most conversation, and I can appreciate this, is hydration. How we know, thinking about the importance of it, especially in the warm weather and everything.
Yes.
But some of you know, some of you don't know. But in my working world, before I retired, I was a physical therapist, 47 years as a whole, but 30 years at home care. So I got to be up close and personal to a lot of people. And consequently, in that role, you're always asking people, are you drinking your water? Are you drinking your water? Yes, yes, yes. And then it hits home after a period of time. You really have to be specific because when you find out at the end of the day, especially when you heard somebody that they had a urinary tract infection, he said, "But I thought you were drinking your water. Come to find out, they're taking a sip of the water. They're sipping all day, but it doesn't add up to a full glass of water. And my kids actually tease me, and what I heard from a lot of people in the groups now even is I don't like to drink so much water because I might as well homestead in the bathroom, you know? So that's the way they take care of it. But trying to emphasize them, there's a purpose for having to drink the water, aside of getting your blood volume up and, making it easier for a needle stick if you have to have a stick coming, and also just to make sure that you have enough volume to get the blood up to your brain, which is necessary for the full thinking. Uh, I did not realize the impact that one has on another family members if you have to stop frequently to go to the bathroom. The kids have told me I have the bladder of a hummingbird. So, we all have to modify and adjust, but that hydration is really, really important. And as a matter of fact, a couple days ago, one of my neighbors, somebody asked me to check on her because she wasn't where she was supposed to be. And come to find out, long story short, had to get the fire and everybody in. And they got into the house and they couldn't find her. And they said, is she, does she wander or anything? And we had seen some signs of, confusion. But long and short, he said, no, and her watch was in there. Her son said, she's in there. And come to find out, the policemen, when they were opening the doors, then they opened the closet to the master bedroom where the bathroom was. As soon as they opened the door, she goes, well, hello there. And what had happened is she fell the night before, and this is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And if she wasn't where she was supposed to be to have triggered off that point, that was the thing. But come to find out, that confusion, some of the confusion that we were starting to see, when she went to the hospital, she did have a UTI. And so
Yeah.
ties in. So but one final thing before I go, the idioms. My son had me listening to somebody, and if I told this to the group before, I'm sorry, but I know there's new people. She told me about this one person who actually was doing like webinars about idioms that as he was trying to learn the language, and
Yeah.
he's driving us one day, and he says, I was supposed to have a meeting with Joe, but Joe called up that he canceled the meeting. And I said, well, why are you canceling? You sound good. And he says, I'm under the weather. And I'm thinking, well, this is crazy. I'm under the weather too, and I'm not going to cancel any meetings, So anyway, just to end with that one.
That's a good one. Yeah. I see in the chat, Teresa and Ellie both put notes about hydration. That's
Hmm.
a big topic, especially this summer. I know at least here in Virginia and the East Coast, we've had really hot weather. So hydration comes up a lot. And Ellie, I didn't know that you did the group cheers. No, that's so fun. She said they passed out water and did a big group cheers. I love that. Incorporating in, making it fun. Everyone.
So I'm going to touch on a couple of topics with this. One is I just had a birthday and I got a lot of gifts from other places, and I thanked them email, but I said I'm going to write notes, and I did do it. And again, you're reminded that your penmanship slides, between times, and that you really have to think about it. So it brings home how important that particular activity is. And the other thing I would mention is AARP and their Staying Sharp site is so good. And I bring that up often in class, and people have had AARP for 10, 20, 30 years, and they've never really been to the site. And it is a tremendous resource. And they do cover all of the topics that we're talking about now. So and then my husband is teaching, he's an English teacher, and he's teaching a class of immigrants from different countries. Luckily, they're not all from the same. And so he's been trying to do different kinds of things to have them cross conversation. And one of the things that he has done is he brought in a song from Guy Lombardo. I forget the name of it now. And they talked about it. And then they cross-talked and there were some phrases that were sort of idiomatic in the song. So, sometimes we don't think about the things that are just like right in front of us, like a song that could be easily lead a discussion that could go very interesting places. So that's something now that he's talked about, that I'm thinking about doing something with that when I do my next class, because it's, these older songs really do have lyrics, and, it's a kind of fun thing to do. So there's another resource that's out there that we might not necessarily have thought about. So that's all I wanted to say. I
I
covered.
love that. Thanks, Susan. That's a great idea. And happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. It was in July. I just finished the notes today. I feel like I have a month to
Yes,
do it.
yes. Oh, thank you. That's
I
amazing.
I would like to share.
Yes.
So I've only done one stronger memory so far, but what I really liked is participants were really noticing the benefits of reading out loud,
Mhm.
like how much they were able to retain it and everything. And we had one participant finish a book through, like, a good sized book through the 12 weeks that she
Oh,
read out loud, and then she reported back about the book, was able to explain it. But what I really enjoyed is, like, each session we had picks before. We'll ask somebody if they want to share whatever it may be. So we did have some participants. I had one lady who doesn't even really like to journal, but she journaled, and they ended up, like, sharing really vulnerable experiences, but it was really diving into their, like, long-term memory. So there was a lot of reminiscing, but their struggles, but they're a really close-knit group where they were able to share that. But the
right.
fact that she said, like, they were able to write it down on paper of
Yeah.
what was going on. So I thought that was really nice because it really brought that connection, and how they were thinking about things they haven't thought of in years.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
powerful.
the one activity that we had a lot of fun with was fun with handwriting.
Oh, good. Yes.
Like, pick somebody and what do you think their signature would be like,
Yes.
and it was a lot of fun. Some people picked famous people, some people picked their parents and
Aw.
everything, and try to, like, do their signature and everything. So that was a really fun activity.
That's
In relation to handwriting, I used to think anybody who had to interpret doctors' handwriting,
Mhm.
we came to the conclusion they all went to the same school where they had the first letter, and then the rest was like a straight
Squiggle.
line. So
yeah,
Oh yeah, we signed like a doctor on one of them. Like, we're a doctor, squiggle squiggle.
funny. Yeah.
But
That's
it
how
was a
I
lot.
find my name, but it's because my last name is so many letters.
Yeah. But no, it was really nice. But I really got to see how these three simple activities, like,
Yeah,
do so much for your brain health. Like, it was really nice to witness that. So, and I'm
that-
really looking forward to the one in the fall.
that's great.
i-
Oh, thanks
in
so much, Kelly. Thanks for
Thank
sharing.
you.
in my community, which I said was a 55 plus community, uh, the community is divided up. We have caring group and captains throughout the community, street captains or building captains or whatever. But whenever I I'm the leader of the caring and captains group, if we hear that somebody was in the hospital or sick or whatever, there's one person that their service is to send out cards to the person. And the feedback that I get from the people who receive those cards, it really wrenches the heart, and you really realize how much that is. On a personal note, myself, I was born in Pennsylvania, and the furthest away that I got to where I was when we went to the Jersey Shore, to Wildwood. So close quarters. When I got married, and I married our paper boy, X amount of years later. So anyway, I can honestly say that we probably dated maybe 10 times. but we wrote letters over a course of 7 years while he was overseas and everything. And we just celebrated our 54th anniversary here. So, but when we were going to be in Philadelphia for our honeymoon, and then we were going to go driving cross country to New Mexico, where was the next duty station. And I can remember thinking as we were hitting Texas, Oklahoma, oh my Lord, where is this man taking me? Because there's no trees, no flowers, it's a different world. And when we get there, I promised my mom that I'd call to say we got there safely. And he got on the phone and he dialed the number and everything. And he handed me the phone and I said, Mom, and I burst out crying, it was the craziest thing. But a couple of weeks after that, when I went looking for a job, I found that I wasn't getting a job as a PT. And this is, the 71 time frame. So physical therapy is pretty big now, but in that time frame, there were some hospitals and places that didn't have therapy. So I was not having luck. And my mom wrote me a letter that was essentially a pick-me-up, and I have that letter still. Don't worry, things have a way of working out. Just trust in your faith, say your prayers, and keep putting one step forward, and whatever it is, it'll work out. So I still have that letter, and I found I have 4 kids, and one time or another, I found myself writing to one or the other of them about something that was going on, and they told me they kept their letter too. So those letters, I think, make a big difference, aside of getting your penmanship going too.
Absolutely. No, that's a great, great one. And I know, speaking of letters, Ellie did a group. We were revising some of the lessons, making some of the lessons in the facilitator's guide a bit meatier. And I covered for a group when Ellie was out on vacation, and she'd given her group homework the week before to write a letter to somebody, whether they wanted to send it or not, but write a letter to someone that you haven't talked to in a while, or that you just want to reach out to. And a lot of the people in the group, because the first thing we covered was their homework. What does anybody want to share their letter? And it was really amazing, kind of going along a little bit with what Kelly said, people sharing kind of vulnerable, intimate things. Some people shared that they'd written a letter to someone who's passed away, with thoughts that they wanted to get out. Some people wrote a letter to someone that maybe old friend that they hadn't connected with in a while, and they did end up sending it to reconnect. And I remember another person said they wrote a letter they weren't planning to send to a family member that they were really angry with, and that it really helped them to get those thoughts out on paper so that they could process and move on. And they said, you know what, now I don't need to send the letter, but now I feel like I can I can let it go and forgive that person and move on, because I've gotten my feelings out on paper. So
And these days, research is showing that being angry is not good for the soul for anybody who has that anger in there. So that's good.
One of the people in my group, when I had suggested, one of the things was to write a letter, and she just recently again told me she's in constant contact. They do a letter a week. She and a cousin that's out in California, and she's here in New York, and they were really out of contact, and they've been sharing family stories because essentially they grew up together, but then they've lived apart so many years. So letter writing is a really good way to do your writing project part two. So, and she's still doing it years later, so that's good.
that's great. Absolutely. Well, what else? We've got about 8 minutes left. So if anybody has more comments on topics that you've done or that have led to great discussion, we can do that. But I also want to make sure if anyone has any burning questions in general, that they have a chance to ask the group here, even if it's not related to our topic this month.
I have a question.
Yes.
Those supplements were super fun and they disappeared. With the new website launch that you were talking about, will those also be included in there?
The, you mean like the supplemental lessons?
Or maybe the math, is that what you mean, the math pages and the prompts?
Got it. So a lot of those are now in they're now in the full workbook. But we are working on some fun supplemental things. We do have a few packets. We've got a Mother's Day, Father's Day, and a wellness themed packet that have so far gone out via email, but that we're trying to also include a link to on our website. So we'll have those out, and then we're working with a partner to launch a combined supplement packet in September that also is on fall prevention. And we're working on a way so we were using Google Drive for some of these resources like PowerPoints and things like that. And we ran into some issues because you have to log in order to access, and you only have so much storage space. So we're working with our IT team. Michelle's been taking the lead there with Addie, our technology team coordinator, to find a better solution. So there is some sort of portal that facilitators can really easily just access. We will have a lot of new resources and information on the website.
Okay.
The download form to download the workbook, that should all be the same. If you have any questions though, please let us know. It should launch in the next week or so, week or two probably. Once it's up, I plan to record a short little video with a tour of the website that I will post and send out to that facilitator email group as well, so that you can kind of see how to navigate it if you have any questions.
Is the website you're talking about, is the facilitator website a something out of the goodwinliving.org website, or is it completely different?
So we are right now, if you go to StrongerMemory.org, or it takes you to the Stronger Memory page, there's only one page, and it is part of the Goodwin Living website. Goodwin Living is we're redoing all of the Goodwin Living websites. So instead of having one main page, we now have some satellite sites. So it'll be clearer when you go to the new Stronger Memory site. It will be more clear what Stronger Memory is. There's still, some references to the foundation and things like that. But the links at the top of the page right now, you might click more information. You might click contact, or you might click donate or something, or home, and it brings you to the main Goodwin Living information. And so this will be a little bit clearer. And we're also able to break out more pages. So there's a home page, there's a get started page, there's a page for research resources and news articles, and there's a page for facilitators with those links to our calls, to the facilitator guide, and just some other information there.
Okay.
Good.
I never got the wellness packet, so I would like that one.
Yes, that one I don't think we've sent out officially yet, but yeah,
Okay.
we've used
The
that.
other thing that I wanted to mention is that I think that I am going to be leaving Facebook because there is a new problem with them. They are using AI to go through every piece anything that you've ever posted in your life. And I have several friends who have had problems with that. One was kicked off, and they won't even tell you why. And these things happened in 2015, 2014. And I just really don't like the idea of someone going through every post that I've received or sent. So I am exiting Facebook within the next week or two.
Okay.
So I just wanted to mention that that is what is happening with Facebook right now. And who knows what they're going to do with what they find on our pages. So I know I sort of sound a little paranoid, but I think that
No.
it just makes sense to know what's going on with Facebook at this point.
I've
Right.
heard of people saying that, and quite honestly, years ago, I had a friend that moved to Washington State, and when she was getting out there, the first couple of days, she was talking about her, new area and everything. We didn't hear from her for a couple of weeks, and when she got back on, she says, "I'm sorry, I was delayed. I just didn't get on Facebook that much. I've been busy," and I wrote down something. Oh, don't worry about it. I can identify with that being busy. And somebody put a note on there. Said, "Well, why even bother with Facebook if you're not going to get on there?" I thought, well, my goodness, who the heck is this? But I heard recently, Susan, somebody else saying the same thing, and that they tried to get out of it, and they couldn't get out of Facebook. How do you get out of Facebook?
There's a way, apparently, my son is going to help me. So,
Oh,
but I heard from several people that like they don't know why they got kicked off. Supposedly they had some terrible picture up or they said something inappropriate or whatever. So it's an AI is not necessarily the same judge as what we would look at and interpret something as meaning. So, there's the good and the bad of AI. And but this,
yeah.
that they're doing this is gigantic. I mean, and they can do it so easily with AI. So in a sense, you're losing all privacy in terms of whatever privacy existed within Facebook.
In
Yeah.
all honesty, some people going on Facebook seem to forget that, you need to keep things close to the chest. I'm going off to New England in 2 weeks, and you say, tell the world so they can be
Right.
at the house,
Yeah.
Right. And we do have a facilitators group on Facebook, and we've tried to post things. It doesn't seem like a lot of our facilitators, a lot of you are using Facebook in that way. So what we're looking at with our IT team is probably going to be something like Dropbox or maybe a professional version of Google Drive, something that is more of a location that you can just access. Once you have the link, you can just access materials and download what you need or upload what you need if you want to share your own documents that you've worked on. So I don't think we're going to continue trying to use the Facebook group for that purpose because it doesn't seem like that's the most useful tool. So we'll probably move to something like Dropbox in the future.
Yeah.
Or a page behind our yeah, Annie, I saw your note. Yeah, as for the professional email, you can't use Facebook. And I know some people have trouble with whether or not they can use Google Drive. So yeah, we're trying to find things. And I think that we use Microsoft internally, but that's not really good for external sharing. So I think it's probably going to be something like Dropbox, where it's an external database, or it'll be a page on our website with links to PDFs. But the nice thing about Dropbox is that you all as facilitators would also be able to upload if there's stuff links or content or handouts that you've put together, you'd be able to upload that too, and to share, which would be really nice. So we're working on that, and we'll let you know. But we've heard your feedback definitely, and so yeah, Michelle has been our fearless leader there. She's been working with our internal team, and yeah, being very busy.
You hear technology is good. It's only as good as the people putting input in and everything. But I have to say, I'm along with Susan, I'm sort of reserved about the AI component about things these days. So it is what it is, but I think being safe is the important thing of all. That's the bottom line. this, as always, this is a good group to come to and share with. Enjoy it.
Thank you, everyone. We're just a couple
Thank
minutes
you.
our time, so we'll finish up, but thank you all. This was a great discussion. Talk about, topics that get everybody speaking. Super exciting.
Good.
And next month, I think, Ellie, are you talking next month? Maybe, or maybe the month after. We talked a lot about ideas for ongoing groups. Ellie's been piloting a closed group model at our campuses. So I want her to share about that either on September or October's call. So we'll get to hear that side too. And then as always, if you have any topic suggestions, let us know.